welcome to My Chemical Fancast. I'm Haley.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast about all things My Chemical Romance. We are finally on Black Parade, and I'm so excited.
It's taken half a year to get here.
Oh my gosh, can you believe?
It has taken so long, and it feels like, I was telling Haley earlier, I feel really pressured right now. Like, I'm stressed. I feel like this is the one that we super have to get right.
I mean, you're putting that pressure on yourself.
I know.
Akin to when the boys put the pressure on themselves to make a better record.
Oh my God.
We are putting the pressure on ourselves to make a better podcast for the Black Parade.
What a parallel. The funny thing is, we're not doing anything fundamentally different. Like, nope. It's the same old shit.
Same damn thing.
New day, same old shit. What's up, guys?
Yes. How was your holiday? I hope it was fantastic. How was your new year? What are your resolutions?
What's your Killjoy name?
What the fuck is your Killjoy name?
It's 2019.
Oh my gosh.
I'm upset that we can't, like, start the year of Danger Days, but holy shit, guys, it's 2019.
It's finally time.
Did you throw yourself a Killjoy party on New Year's? Because I did. I was home alone, and I played Na 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 at midnight, and I don't regret it.
I was with my mother, and as soon as the ball dropped, I had Na 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 ready, and I fucking hit play. So I'm glad that we did the exact same thing.
We both opened our year with Look Alive Sunshine.
Yes, I needed it. It was so satisfying.
I still don't have a Killjoy name. I need to think of one.
You need to get on it.
If you guys have any suggestions, give them to me.
I've already told you how to make one. I've told you how to make one. You have a dangerous word and a gay word, and you put them together, and there's your fucking Killjoy name.
I'm good at, I had that list of 5 names, and I liked all 5 of them, especially Lipstick Tokyo. No, Lip Gloss Kyoto. What am I saying? Lip Gloss Kyoto.
Do that.
I feel like that's too big for me.
No.
I need one that fits me.
You need to get a name that you can live up to.
I can't live up to Lip Gloss Kyoto.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes. That is, Lip Gloss Kyoto is a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Lip Gloss Kyoto is gonna kick your fucking ass.
For real.
And piss on your grave.
Listen, okay, I had one.
I'm trying to find the ones I had before.
I had one that I made when Danger Days first came out, and everyone was making them, and nobody knew what the fuck a Killjoy was, but they were like, all right, here's the names. And we were like, all right, we're running with it, so I guess we're going to make some names now. And so my first one, I think it was Rainbow Blaze.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, let me just gay it up. Because, why not?
Should we disclose that, you are a bisexual person?
Yeah, no, I am actually in the LGBTQ community. I'm not I'm not a straight woman trying to be like, well, I'm gay, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was my first one. But I have reinvented myself since then. And my new one I have chosen is Galaxy Ghost.
I like that. I like Galaxy Ghost.
I like Galaxy Ghost too. I am sticking with that. If you follow me on Twitter, you see me talking to people about Killjoy names a lot because I'm so stoked about this year, you guys. I'm so stoked.
Well, I'm still trying to find the list because I liked my list. I'm going to read them off. All right, so these are the names I came up with when somebody asked. Kitty Clash, Disco Danger, Pink Vendetta, Pop Gun, and Lip Gloss Kyoto.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those are cool, but not for me.
Okay.
So, jury's still out.
Yeah, you gotta dig deep. You gotta find one that connects with your soul.
If someone out there wants to take Lip Gloss Kyoto, be my guest. I feel like it's so good.
It is a good one.
Pop Gun is good, but I feel like it's not one that someone would pick for themselves. But it's a character that would be in the book.
Right.
Anyway.
Yep.
This podcast is not about Danger Days right now.
Not yet.
It is about Black Parade. We are getting sidetracked.
Okay, here it goes. We're talking about the Black Parade. We're talking about the beginning of the Black Parade and how they got into it.
For context, we're going to split this episode up into 2 parts. And the first part, we're going to talk about making of the Black Parade and sort of an introduction to the album. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the first 2 tracks on the album. So that's what's up. That's the itinerary.
Just the first 2, because I know that this is going to take so long to talk about how the Black Parade was made and the concept and all of that. It's just, there's so much to cover.
Yep, it's a lot.
My notes are 5 pages long.
So are mine. They're so long. But anyway, so the Black Parade is MCR's 3rd album. And I found this quote from Gerard. It was in an interview with Tom Bryant, of course.
Of course.
He told him, "This record tried to kill us."
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is what Making the Black Parade was.
Yeah, it ripped them apart. They ripped themselves apart. So they begin the Black Parade while they're on tour for Revenge. They have, which we've discussed, they have the studio in the back of their tour bus, just starting to write some rough outlines of songs. They bring those songs to Sir Studios early on in New York City.
Mm-hmm. In 2006.
In 2006, yes, early 2006. They go into Sir Studios in New York City, and they do some rough outlines, and they write some things there. They're not really on recording yet or anything, but they stay there for a while, and then they move to Los Angeles.
Hold on.
Yes.
I'm going to put in a break there.
Okay.
Sir Studios, New York City, 2006.
Yeah.
Writing songs. One song they did right there was Mama. That's where Mama begins, and that's when, as reported in the special edition box set that I bought just for this podcast, that's when they were like, oh shit, this has got to be a giant fucking song. It also needs to be a giant fucking record. And so once they had Mama, they asked to see Rob Cavallo in New York. And they played him a few songs. They played him Mama. And he was super into it. And they were like, hell yeah. And Rob Cavallo, they picked him because he was known for working on Dookie by Green Day and Dear You by Jawbreaker. Mm-hmm. They noted that in Dear You, there was this guitar sound that they called a white hot guitar tone, and that they wanted to have that same kind of sound on the record. But I think that is very interesting and coincidental because both Dookie and Dear You were albums where there's a huge backlash about those bands selling out. And especially for Jawbreaker, it was a giant deal and like ended the band.
Right.
And so I feel like Rob Cavallo might be kind of cursed to make excellent music that everyone hates, because this is also an album that MCR got accused of selling out on, or that their sound changed because people didn't like the production. So
you know what I think is really interesting? I was in researching this, I found like old message boards from end of 2005, beginning of 2006, where it had just come out that they had hired Rob, and nobody was happy about it. They were like, fucking Rob Cavallo, he's gonna fuck this shit up. He's gonna make them super pop and blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe they've gone this direction. And I'm not gonna like their next album because Rob Cavallo's doing it. Whoa.
Yeah, people like that with Dear You for Jawbreaker too, because Jawbreaker's first couple albums had this sort of grittier, like, not a high quality production value. And then they go to a major label and go to Dear You, and it sounds, I mean, to my ears, it doesn't sound super slick. Like, it's not like a Black Parade kind of slick sound, but it is better production, and people got really upset about that.
Yeah.
They really didn't like how it sounded, and which is baffling to me.
I don't know, some people really like the grittiness, which I understand, but if the band is ready to move on from that, then like let them.
Also, like, some grittiness is fine. I like other Jawbreaker albums. It's not that I don't like those albums. But think of like when you listen to a really old Misfits song, and it kind of sounds like they recorded them from like 200 feet away.
Yeah.
Like they're in a well somewhere. Is that really super fun to listen to, guys?
I mean, you know, it is for some people.
Rob Cavallo did American Idiot too, which is another album which is very similar to Black Parade in that it's 1, giant, 2, got really good critical reception, but 3 got mixed general public reception because it was so big and so slick and so produced. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's crazy because all the albums we've mentioned have been fucking classic, great albums.
Yeah.
But people are just real stubborn.
People are dumb
about what they like. But in any case,
yes,
they got Rob on board, and then they went to Los Angeles.
They went to Los Angeles. They moved to the Oakwood Apartments, which they lived in while recording and writing Revenge. And so they're the same apartment complex that they were living in before. So they stayed there for a little while and kind of just bopped around a little bit with writing. Then they move into the Paramore Mansion.
Can I insert some clips of like thunderclaps?
Yes.
Like some ominous sounds.
Please do.
The Paramore.
The Paramore. The Paramore. So this fucking mansion. Okay, so they move into the fucking Paramore Mansion, aka the Canfield Moreno Estate. Mm-hmm. This is where you're gonna die, basically. So, like, So, like, horror movies were filmed here. Other bands have stayed here. Like, Papa Roach, I think, was one of them.
Yes.
And, like, every band that stayed there is like, don't fucking do it. And they heard about this and they said, oh, fuck yeah.
They were like, it's haunted? Great. Seems like a bad idea? Fantastic. Let's
on
go.
board. Let's go. Can you believe? So,
Yes.
they did this. So, it has its own creepy-ass history. 100% is haunted, confirmed, and definitely set the mood for the boys for the rest of the album writing and recording process.
Yeah. So they go to the Paramore, and what they do is they have these slips of paper with numbers on them. They put them on a bed, and they all randomly pick numbers to pick the room they're in. And Mikey's room is called the Blue Room, and it is apparently the most haunted fucking room in this whole goddamn house.
Poor Mikey.
And just put a pin in that. We'll come back to that later.
Yes, we will.
But just keep it in mind. But some shit that happened to them in this house, besides the fact that it was really fucking cold and that they felt like they were being watched all the time. Frank and Gerard had doors slammed in front of them. Bob had reported there was water in or around his tub when he hadn't run the taps. And I think Ray said he saw a lady in white down a hallway. Mm-hmm. So it's a weird place to be, but they were like, we want this aesthetic for our record.
Right.
And they would come to regret it. But this is where we are.
Yes, that's where they are. So we'll talk a lot. We'll talk more about the mansion as we go on.
Absolutely, we'll come back to that.
But so once they finish writing and demoing the sessions, they finish recording and tracking in El Dorado Studios in Burbank, California. This is the first time that they've had an upgrade to a real professional studio with really expensive equipment, and
I think it's like their fanciest studio.
Yeah,
like they had some equipment last time.
Yeah, no, they definitely had the equipment for Revenge, but like this is their fanciest yet. This is like they're kind of like, oh, this is real shit. Mm-hmm. This is like where real people record.
Yeah. So back to the Paramore. So before they recorded the tracks, they wrote for a while in the Paramore, and it was fine. They said they had a few weeks, they had a good groove going. It was solid. Mm-hmm. But then they had to take a break because they had to fly out to do a charity show at South by Southwest, which they'd already committed to. And once they come back from that show, shit goes downhill.
Oh boy.
Once they come back from that show, Mikey has to leave the house. So Mikey says that when they went into the Paramore, he was already at an emotional low and ended up not being able to handle the pressure of making the record because he was frequently getting panic attacks. Apparently, during Revenge touring, or especially the last year of Revenge touring, he had developed ever-increasing anxiety, and it sort of all came to a head. So Mikey takes himself out of the house to live with Stacey Fass, who's the band's attorney. And while he's gone, he gets treatment for depression and drug addiction, and he comes back like into the house to practice, but he doesn't stay the night ever. He doesn't stay very long. So this happens, and it's a big fucking deal. Mm-hmm. They have never been apart like this as a band, and it weighs really heavily on everybody, and writing becomes extremely difficult. And there's a quote from Gerard, which I will now read to you.
Okay.
We walked around like zombies, not creating, not showering, not living. Some never left their rooms. I left my pajamas on for a week once, constantly fighting the urge to just walk into the swimming pool and stand at the bottom until I couldn't breathe. We looked like ghosts, and we haunted the house. So things weren't going very well. Everyone was really emotionally on edge. Gerard couldn't sleep, and when he did sleep, he had paralyzing night terrors. Mm-hmm. And they also started talking about their problems, their personal problems, in a designated room in the house, which they called the heavy room.
I have so much on the heavy room.
Oh, I've got the whole fucking conversation. Let's talk about the heavy room.
Oh, so, I can't wait. Okay.
So they talk about all their problems in the heavy room, and I can't tell if this is a good idea or a bad idea. It turned out to be a bad idea, but they did come closer together as a band. But I think Ray was the genesis of the heavy room. But yeah, they had this room to just have emotionally charged conversations about their darkest thoughts. I don't know about that, man.
It was a no-holds-barred room where they were brutally honest with one another. And they went in there and they were just completely like, all right, I think it's a good thing that they did this partially because I
think they brought it back together. They made it okay.
To be with someone and work with someone that closely, you have to be super honest with them. So then the heavy room was just the room where they went to talk, and the only outsiders allowed in were Stacey Fass and Rob Cavallo. And Rob said that he thought it was a good thing because it helped them kind of get everything out on the table and help them not make compromises in the music.
Mm-hmm.
So he said it helped them become better musicians and a better band because of that, but they talked about all their personal shit too, like, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend, or like, I'm having this anxiety issue. And they also said that it helped them kind of put their own anxieties aside and be like, all right, my dude needs help, so I'm going to put my stuff aside and help him out right now.
Yeah.
But I do also think it may have created a little tension.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they were under so much pressure, putting themselves under so much pressure, and Mikey was gone. So having that very obvious, apparent fracture in the band that you see every day because, like, this person isn't here who's part of your band.
Right.
And I think that nobody was in an emotionally healthy place. And then you have all these, like, high emotional and also, like, I'm going to say emotionally damaged, but it feels like the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like, not having a great time, people in a room together trying to fix each other's problems.
Yeah.
And they are in no state to do that.
Nobody is qualified for that in that room.
No state. So I have this conversation, which is from another Tom Bryant interview.
Yes.
From 2011. So it's sort of retrospective looking back on this process. And I feel like it's very revealing and it's kind of heartbreaking because it's where Ray feels like he's somewhat responsible for Mikey. Maybe I'll just read it. I almost want to assign you a character, but I won't.
Please. Oh my god.
The thing is, there's more than 2 characters. So.
I can play more than one.
All right, we're going to read you this interview part, which is actually conversation. And we're going to play the parts. I'm going to be Ray. And Haley is going to be Mikey and Gerard. I'm so sorry that's the way that we're doing this, but it's the way that we're doing this. Just bear with us. I can't do Ray's voice.
No, don't do the voice. You just gotta read it.
Well, I'm Ray.
Yes. All right, be Ray.
Again, this is 2011. Ray. I've never had the chance to say this properly, so I'd like to say it now. I'm sorry, Mikey. I know I contributed to what you went through. I think I lost my mind. The pressure made me think we had to be perfect all the time, but I confused perfect playing with great playing. I'm sorry for creating that atmosphere.
Mikey, you don't need to apologize, Ray.
Ray. It was unhealthy. We went into it with the best intentions. In my case, those intentions expressed themselves in the wrong way. We set aside a room to have these super heavy talks, and that atmosphere ran through the recording. It was a tough time. We all lost our heads.
Gerard. Ray was a perfectionist, and I was a fucking lunatic. I was trying to oversee everything. I'd be changing things constantly. A song would start one way, the next day, I'd force everyone to change it. We went fucking crazy. I got obsessed with death. For days, I played Passion of the Christ with the sound off. I couldn't get things grim enough. I ended a relationship. In fact, I was so obsessed that my entire personal life got destroyed. Mikey. We all became dark, morbid people. We were festering.
Ray, I learned so much about what not to do on that record. You can be intense in such a way that you inspire people, or you can do it in a way that you intimidate people. On Black Parade, I did it the wrong way. So the atmosphere was bad. They were having all these emotionally heavy talks. They were all striving for perfection. Ray feels like he was responsible, but who can say? And Gerard was just trying to create this atmosphere for himself.
Yeah, he was trying to get so into the character that he like completely he just got wrecked. Like he didn't have alcohol and drugs to lean on as a crutch anymore, so he was like, all right, well, let me just go completely into my own head and just fuck everything up because I have to suffer for my art. I'm so glad he's grown out of that.
He totally has, but at the time he had not. And he had all these papers on his wall with words on them to set the mood, like death and cancer, just like on his bedroom walls. That's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Some crazy shit.
And, okay, so we're doing a lot of quotes in this episode, but
that's fine.
Honestly,
I've got more to come. I
have so many more. The best way to do this part is to just hear it directly from the band's mouths because they tell it the best. So Frank, on going into Gerard's room, he said, I remember going into G's room and he had all these signs up on the wall that he had drawn and painted. They were the song titles and there was this one big piece of paper that said cancer on it. He was so submerged in it. I remember thinking to myself, shit man, I hope he's not too deep. I had a conversation with Ray around that time about the fact that we should have somewhere to get away from things. He was like, I don't know, I just really want to get into this one.
Oh no, that was where things went wrong.
But I remember thinking Gerard was in a little deep. There were multiple times in the band's career that I would say to G, hey, you know you can just write a song, you don't have to kill yourself. He was like, yeah, maybe I will, you're right. But I knew what he really meant was, alright, whatever, shut the fuck up. Ultimately, you need to do what you need to do to get the best out of yourself. but I wanted him to know he had an out. I wanted him to know he was allowed to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Nope.
But good job for trying.
Good try.
I feel like Frank has always been the most emotionally stable person in this band.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I totally think that. I mean, I think he has his personal anxieties and, like, has personal self-hate, but I don't think he has been as destructive about it as the rest of the band.
Okay.
And even Ray, I mean, I think Ray also has this perfectionist thing, which can sort of consume him. I think Frank has always done a good job of desiring balance, at least when he was past the age of 23.
Right.
And before that, he was 23, so...
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. But they would spend hours in the heavy room just talking about everything.
Guys.
And...
I want to know so much more about that, and I know it's not anything they would ever want to talk about it again.
No.
But, yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, Gerard said it was, like, nothing personal between the band members. Like, nothing personal was causing this kind of thing. It was literally just because they were working so hard. And, you know, that they were all going through kind of a hard time, and it became daunting, he said. So they would say to each other, well, we're going to have another talk in the heavy room.
Oh, shit.
And it was a
Shuffles
room
over to the
that
room.
he said drained their souls out.
Yeah, it seems bad.
Yeah.
So while this is happening, they're having a hard time writing. They're having a hard time existing. But then there's a breakthrough moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the breakthrough moment came one night when Gerard couldn't sleep, was walking around, as he often did, and he went into the main room and found Ray there, furiously playing through Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon. And here's another quote. It upset the shit out of me. He wants to play our songs, but he's playing Ozzy. He was playing the songs a lot faster, they sounded angrier, and I knew it was coming solely out of frustration. So they talked, and Gerard gave him a little riff to play and asked him to play it while he sang, and it became the beginning threads of Famous Last Words, which we'll talk about more when we get there, but it's a song that was sort of a plea for Mikey to come back and for the band to sort of get out of this record alive. So the next day, Mikey came to practice, they played it for him, and everyone felt a little bit better. Their spirits were a little bit lifted, at least enough to get through the rest of the album. They ended up leaving the Paramore a few weeks earlier than they had intended, and that's when they go into the Oakwood Apartments to finish writing, and then they go to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of the final act of getting out of this terrifying fucking house.
Yeah. And on Gerard needing to suffer for his art, he's very vocally grown out of this. He was like, I don't think you need to do that anymore. I think you make the best art when you're happy and, you know, when everything is good internally with you. But for now, on the suffering for the art thing, another quote, he said, in order for us to make something great, we have to give up normality. I certainly feel you have to suffer for your art.
No.
I feel that if we don't suffer, then it's not going to be sincere and honest. If we don't suffer, then the songs don't come from a real place. The songs are always about extremely dark things. We can't fake that. I guess the chaos that comes at us and surrounds us and occasionally tries to tear us apart is maybe self-created. There's no maybe.
When was that from?
I'm not finished. Hold on.
Okay.
So I guess there is a little masochistic side to us, but it is the willingness to suffer for our art that's more important. We don't feel like we've made true art unless we've suffered a great deal. Only people who have suffered a great deal have something to say.
Oh my god. I hate this guy. When is this from?
Whoever Gerard has become in this era, I don't like it.
Jesus Christ.
So, that was from a Tom Bryant interview.
But, like, what year?
It was, I think, just after the Black Parade had come out.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was still not really in a great headspace.
Yeah.
But, like, oh my gosh.
That is not the way. If you are a creator listening to this, that is not the way.
Please
that
don't
is a
do
very
it.
bad thing to do. They could have made this record without doing all of this. And I say that confidently because they had already written Mama before they went into the Paramore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they could have totally made this record without that. And they had already had the demo for Welcome to the Black Parade for quite a while and had been hanging on to it and changing it. Mm-hmm. So they also didn't need to go to the Paramore for that. And they had, hold on, my theory is fantastic because they also had The End and Dead already kind of, the bones of that already sketched out. They had a bunch of songs before they went into the Paramore.
You know what?
Completely unnecessary.
I will argue that point because they reworked almost everything.
They sure did.
They reworked everything to death. And maybe it like had a mental toll on them reworking it so many times, but they created a fucking masterpiece because they recreated everything 10 times over.
I agree. It is a masterpiece, and it is a masterpiece because they recreated things a lot. However, because he had such a hard time writing for so long and had this huge block, I don't feel like that added anything necessarily from what I've heard about it. And I think they could have done it not at the Paramore, but still like secluded in a place to write and record.
Right. But do you have something that you wanted to?
Well, you just reminded me of like that whole thing about suffering for your art. So in the special edition, it starts with a letter that Gerard writes. So I have no idea if this date is meant to be August 2006 or August 2005, but whatever.
We're going to guess 2005.
Whatever. Because he talks about making the record and says, making a record is a lot like surgery without anesthetic. You first need to cut yourself up the middle. Then you have to rip out every single organ, every single part, and lay them on a table. You then need to examine the parts, and the reality of the situation hits you. You find yourself saying things like, I didn't know that part was so ugly, or I better get a professional opinion about that. You go to bed hollow, and then back into the operating room the next day, facing every fear, every disgusting thing you hate about yourself. Then you pop it all back in, sew yourself shut, and perform. You perform like your life depended on it. And in those perfect moments, you find beauty you never knew existed. Not a great approach to the idea of creativity.
For reference, my hands are on the top of my head. I am trying to tear my own head off because...
Which is exactly what Gerard wanted to do.
What the fuck, Gerard? Why are you like this?
You have to tear yourself apart and find all the parts you hate.
Oh god, he's so dramatic.
No. Guys, he's so much better now. And also,
I'm so happy he's so much better.
You don't have to do that.
You don't.
Like, there's a way to channel the things that you don't like or your insecurities or anxieties or depression, like, into good art. But I think that is not inherent to the art being good, and it's just rather a way to deal with those things.
Yeah. You know, I understand why he was like this, though, because that's all he had done previously. That's all he knew. That's all he knew. He didn't know how to do it any other way.
And he wasn't in a culture that said anything different.
Right, exactly. Like, they were still very much in the suffering artist trope in that
and
period.
Like being on the road and like it's hard.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much awareness about mental health or burnout or any sort of respect for creators having a work-life balance.
Yeah, and so because they wanted to create this huge theatrical cinematic record, they thought that they had to dial up the suffering, which was previously at like an 8. They wanted to do it at like a 12.
Yeah, it goes up to 11.
Yeah. So, but they knew that they were making a classic album, though. They went into the studio and they were like, we're going to make an album that teenagers today are going to hand down to their kids and be like, this is what the fuck you should be listening to. Like, they knew that it was going to be in the same vein as Ziggy Stardust, Melancholy, Sgt. Pepper, Night at the Opera, The Wall, all of these huge records that are held in such high regard. They were like, all right, if we want to do something better than Revenge, we have to go up to that level. And writing these songs, they knew it was going to be something like that.
Yeah. There's a good quote from Gerard that ever since I read it the first time, I never don't think about it. He said, if it wasn't like staring into the sun with your eyelids cut off, it wasn't good enough for the record. I think about that all the time. That is exactly what this record is like.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So their working title for this was The Rise and Fall of My Chemical Romance. Gerard went on to like a thing where he was like, oh, this is like self-deprecating, we're beating people to the punch, like we're already over before you said we're over. Shut up, Gerard. It was just a joke. Like, don't go that deep into it. It was just a reference to the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
Put a pin in that.
Yes.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
But yes. So, I wanted to make this big timeless record. Unlike their first 2 records, where they went into it with a concept in mind, they didn't go into this one with a concept in mind and sort of like let one reveal itself as they wrote songs, which I think makes it like the loosest concept records of all their records, because I think it deviates sometimes with like Teenagers and Sleep, where it's not always on the same plot line. But in a nutshell, the story ended up being about a man named the Patient who's dying of cancer and who hasn't been the greatest person while he's alive. He dies, and then death comes for him in the form of a black parade based on a fond memory from his childhood. Originally, it was going to just be about hell.
Okay.
And Gerard had started read a bunch of books about it, and he came across this concept of mystery plays, and then it sort of branched off in that direction. So mystery plays are medieval Christian plays, which I learned about in my medieval English class.
Nerd.
They're also called morality plays, and they're about virtue and sin, and they're meant to teach religious lessons and ethics to people who can't read. But Gerard apparently discovered that there were older versions of it that were pagan, and that they involved more sex and magic, which was, of course, very intriguing to him. Mm-hmm. And then in my research, I discovered that in 1910, Aleister Crowley wrote and performed a series of 7 mystery plays that were called The Rites of Eleusis, which some people thought were immoral and erotic. Ooh. And so that was intriguing to me. Yeah. Seems like a thing Gerard would like.
Yeah. So the concept kind of developed into the patient dealing with relationships and looking back on his life and looking on his mortality and coming to grips with it within the last 2 weeks of his life, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of left the end open. Does the patient die? Does he not die? We don't really know.
I think he's dead.
I mean, probably because
not to bring up another argument about who the fuck is dead in this album, but I think the patient's dead because of the flatline in the beginning and because of the Black Parade.
Well, we're going to talk about that when we get to the songs.
Wow.
We'll put a pin in that for a second.
Okay.
But, so, Gerard, on why he went with the concept, I found a quote.
Let's hear it.
Okay. He said, "Partly I was processing the death of my grandmother still, but I also felt that nobody was telling the truth. There were a lot of bands who wanted money, and so they'd sing songs about their girlfriends and a lot of other dumb suburban white kid problems. Nobody was talking about life and death, they were just talking about dumb shit. So I felt a responsibility to do that. I wanted the record to be painful for people at the same time as they enjoyed and loved it, so I thought it had to be painful for me too." There you go again.
I don't know about that last part, but the rest, sure.
Yeah, sure. And so during the Revenge tour, and they were kind of coming to grips with their own mortality and their parents' mortality, and obviously their grandmother's mortality. Mm-hmm. And by they, I mean Gerard and Mikey.
Yes.
And their dad had a close call on the Revenge tour.
That's right. I was just thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, their dad had a close call on the Revenge tour, and he had a non-fatal heart attack literally on their tour bus. Mm-hmm. But Mikey said all of that stuff was interlinked. We were still dealing with the death of our grandmother, and soon after, my dad had a close call. So we both developed these strange obsessions. We were dark, morbid people. We were festering. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as far as I know, I don't think that the Way brothers have anyone in their family who's been affected with cancer, at least not that we know about.
Maybe their aunt. I think they talked about their aunt one time.
I've never heard that. But whether or not that is the case, I think it's a really interesting and poignant thing to go with because most people know somebody who's had cancer, been affected by cancer. Isn't the statistic 1 in 3 people get cancer? Yeah. So it's so common and such a good thing to pick for the patient to suffer from rather than suicide, which has a lot of morality surrounding it. This is a force of the universe, a disease which comes at you.
Yeah, you can't do anything about this one.
Yeah.
Unless you get treatment and you somehow go into remission. But other than that, you just gotta let your body do what it's gonna do.
Yeah, this cancer at least is a terminal cancer. Uh-huh. Gerard describes the patient as someone who is going before their time, someone who never truly let themselves live, someone a little bit sad and a little bit pathetic, a character everyone can put themselves in the shoes of. Which, okay. But it's supposed to be sort of an everyman approach to the album. The patient is this vessel for the listener traveling through the process of dying and death in the afterlife. And then the concept of the record is sort of that there are these multiple characters that the patient meets on his way to the afterlife or in the afterlife. And that's all of the figures on the cover art. Mm-hmm. Now, I could be wrong, and I pieced it together, but I've never seen a great list about the characters with a backstory. I think there are a lot of them that don't have a backstory. Because I had this list and I was like, this feels like there should be more to this. Mm-hmm. But here are the characters. The patient, the devil, who are the 2 twin wolves. And Gerard said about this is always how I imagine the devil, but I'm not sure why. I'm not sure either. Mm-hmm. It's cool though. Mother War, who has the gas mask and the big hoop skirts. Fear and Regret, who are the twins. The soldiers, the escape artist, and Pepe, who's the band leader.
And the boxer's wife.
And the boxer's wife. Didn't even mention that in the goddamn book. Where's the wife?
I'm not sure, but she's in the story.
I don't know if she's on here, but I believe that I've heard that before.
Yeah.
So also in the art is Joan of Arc, who was a figure that Gerard was mildly obsessed with.
Mildly.
A level obsessed. And he also, when he had night terrors in the Paramour, sometimes had dreams about her burning, which is not, fantastic. And the album art is based on a painting called March of the Saints, which features Joan of Arc. And the art was done by James Jean. And it's very iconic.
I love James Jean.
This whole, oh my god. Guys, the special edition box set is so fucking worth it. It's such a pretty object.
Yeah.
Even though just the regular CD and like the fold out album insert is still incredible.
Yeah.
It looks so good. The name.
Yes, the name. So the name comes from a note that Gerard had jotted down in the heavy room. He just left it in there on a post-it note, and it just said, "We are all just a black parade." Y'all.
Dramatic.
He is so emo.
I think he had thought about that phrase a few times because he mentions it in the book too, but he mentions thinking about it multiple times.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's something that was just a recurring thought he had.
Yeah, we know that he has these thoughts, and he's had these thoughts for a long time. Like, he planned Venom during Bullets, and, he threw forward to the revenge concept in Bullets, and, and there are some throwbacks to revenge in the Black Parade, and, so he, references his own ideas and, foreshadows his own ideas.
Yeah. That gives me hope, honestly, that, the things that you think about can be, can be good in and of themselves, and you can make them good art. Even though they're not good art yet.
Right. Yep. So they took this name on after they developed the concept and everything, and we'll probably dive into this later, but they took this name, the Black Parade, on as their alter egos for the band. So they were basically like, fuck My Chemical Romance, when we perform, we're the Black Parade, and they put on the uniforms, and they were basically like goth Sgt. Pepper.
Yes. Goth Sgt. Pepper. Yes, totally. But yeah, they had this alter ego persona of the Black Parade. And there's this huge launch in London with it, and it was a big fucking deal. However, I do think it fucked them, because when they get after Danger Days and they try to make the 5th album, they're like, I just kind of want to be a rock band again. With Black Parade and Danger Days, they had these big personas and alter egos, and you can't go back from that once you've already done that, especially doing that for 2 albums in a row.
Right.
It's so hard to just go back to even just a Revenge, where you have an aesthetic but you're still you.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have that escape, it makes it, I don't know, I think it makes it easier when you have a character to throw yourself into.
Well, easier to perform, but harder if you don't want to do that anymore.
Right, yeah, to pull yourself out of it.
When you're a band that's known for having characters and personas in different worlds, it's hard to say our next record is just going to be a plain rock record.
Right. I get that. So I think we need to put a stop.
That's fine. That's all I got.
Okay. We will definitely talk way more about it as we get into the individual songs. For now, we get into the first song.
Back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Here we go. Beep.
The end.
Now come on, come all to this tragic affair. Wipe off that makeup, what's in is despair. So throw on the black dress, mix in with the lot. You might wake up and notice you're someone you know.
The End is the first song.
My first note is 2 words.
Yep.
Punctuation boys.
Yes.
Really digging the punctuation.
Yep. The first 2 songs have punctuation. These first 2 songs, I feel, are kind of the same song. They just lead
they go together.
You can't have one without the other.
No, whenever I have them on a playlist or something that's on shuffle, it drives me insane.
You have to queue up the next song. So this one was originally titled Intro.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about production for a second.
Yes.
So people, as we said, who don't like the Black Parade often don't like it because it sounds, quote, overproduced sounding. Let's explore what overproduced means.
Well, so this song grows. So you start with this acoustic guitar and Gerard singing, and then it grows bit by bit, just a layer on a layer on a layer of more guitars and the drums, and then you get these background vocals with the oohs and the snaps. And then at the end, it has this giant crescendo. So I think that this song is representative of the album because the album has a lot of like all of these different tracks coming together to be this like wall of sound.
Yes. So, yes, I think one of the things that people have an issue with is how Gerard sounds. His voice is so compressed.
There's a lot of background vocals,
at least 300 Gerard singing on this track. And they've mashed his voice into one squished up thing. And, I'm not saying that I don't like it. I love. But
I think that's true. I mean, definitely when like all of the instruments come in, especially at the end. But the beginning part with just the acoustic, do you feel like that's still?
There's a lot of reverb.
A lot of reverb,
a lot of squished sounding. It sounds too clean.
It is very clean.
To be a normal person singing. You know what I mean? Especially a Gerard person singing. It's too clean.
I'm playing it in my head.
I have it.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of reverb, but I don't think he's multi-tracked in that very beginning. But I could be wrong. I don't know anything. I'm just guessing.
So, okay. We'll listen to the beginning of it. So, thankfully, we have been blessed on this album with instrumental tracks.
God, yes.
And isolated vocals.
Oh my God, it's
that
fantastic.
Are great quality. I am so stoked about
those background oohs, though.
Oh boy. Okay. The oohs sound like a barbershop quartet.
Yes.
I love it.
Because they have the little snaps, too.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
He's so sassy. I love him. Okay. Let's listen to the beginning of it. You decide for yourself if you feel that it sounds squished or...
Because I haven't listened to the isolated vocals for this one.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You might wake up and notice you're someone you're not. If you look in the mirror and don't like what you see, you can find out firsthand what it's like to be me. So gather round, piggies, and kiss this goodbye. I'd encourage your smiles. I expect you won't cry.
First, the chord at 40 seconds. I know it's simple, okay? It's simple. It doesn't matter.
All vocal harmonies sound good, man.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
I really like all those tracks. I still think that at the beginning part, before he goes into the big yelly part, that it's just him with a ton of reverb.
Yeah, I think it's cleaned up a lot, but
I do, because there's that thing where he says on. There's like something in there which feels a little grainy, feels like a little
tinny sounding.
Yeah, a little fast maybe for like how a vibrato would be or something.
That's called auto-tune.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so that you make your own conclusions. It doesn't matter. To me, it sounds very produced and very
which isn't
tight.
A problem.
I'm not saying it's a problem.
It's just a style. Some people don't like it. But I do think when people discount this record because it's really produced, obviously it's really produced.
Yeah, duh.
And because there are a lot of times 10 Gerards doing one thing, I feel like people have their preferences, people have their tastes, but I feel like you're really discounting a great record because it sounds fancy.
Yeah, and there's no need for that. So it starts off the album so big, so cinematic,
They're so
different,
good at opening albums.
so different than anything that they have ever done before, ever. And in the instrumental, you can hear the metronome. I don't know why, but I love that detail that you can hear the ticking, and it's part of the song. If you didn't have that ticking in there, it would feel incomplete. So, okay, so this song is influenced by 5 Years by David Bowie.
Your face, your race, the way that you talk. I kiss you, you're beautiful. I want you to walk. We got 5 years stuck on mine. 5 years, what a surprise. We got 5 years. My brain hurts a lot.
Yes.
Heavily.
Oh, yeah. Frank says that in his little liner notes. And apparently this song came about because 5 Years used to be on their psych up playlists when they would go out on stage, which is cute to know.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank mentions this 5 Years by David Bowie in his liner notes. Ray mentions that it's supposed to be very The Wall-like.
Yes.
Which you can definitely get.
Yeah, so for The Wall, it's kind of based on the track In the Flesh, which is the first track off of The Wall.
Mm-hmm.
And In the Flesh influence, you can hear it.
Might like to go to the show. Tell me, is something eluding you, sunshine? If you wanna find out what's behind these cold eyes, you'll just have to claw your way through this disguise.
Because 5 Years has the chords.
Yeah.
And kind of the rhythm, but that has more of the big moments.
Right.
And yeah, the pulse feeling.
Yeah.
So this song immediately introduces the idea of the hospital and the patient in a really clean, easy way with that, what do you call it? EKG? Something?
Yes.
The heartbeat monitor.
The heart monitor thing. Heart rate monitor, sure.
And the first lines, now come one, come all to this tragic affair, are fantastic because they sound just like someone opening up a story or opening up a play.
Yes, it sets it up as a spectacle. It says
it's like opening a curtain.
Yeah, it sets like his life and his death up as a spectacle. It's like, all right, everybody come watch. All right.
Gather around piggies.
So it starts off with him like at the very end, like transitioning into dead. He flatlined for a minute.
Yes.
And we'll get to that later. But it
then
starts off where we're like, all right, the heart rate monitor like shows us he's alive. He's in the hospital. Yeah. And I feel like it's the patient like struggling with the inevitability of his death. And since his illness is terminal, like on one hand, he's trying to act super flippant about it. Like, I don't care. It's fine if I die. Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, he is literally crying out for someone to save him.
Yeah.
Like, literally, save me. Like, please help. I don't know what to do.
There is this black humor in this song and the next song about, like, I'm dying, fuck it. I guess this is it.
Whatever. And I think he, meaning both Gerard and the patient, struggle with how he sees himself. So he feels maybe like he's not a good person and, like, people won't actually mourn him when he's gone, like with the I'll expect you won't cry. But he's still, hey, I'm a shitty person, but I don't want to die, you know? So, and I want to reiterate, he is literally, at the end, he is screaming for someone to help him.
Yes.
Thanks, I hate it. I'm gonna die.
This song has such good classic-ass lines of, if you look in the mirror and don't like what you see, you can find out firsthand what it's like to be me. And also, when I grow up, I want to be nothing at all. So good. Those are such classic MCR lines. They make me so upset with the fact that they show up in the first damn track of this album.
I literally have the "when I grow up" line just as its own bullet in my notes.
Me too. In all caps.
Yes. Okay.
I also have the riff in all caps.
Yes, the riff.
The guitar riff is so goddamn good. Mm-hmm. So this song knocks you on your ass. It is the song where it starts out sneaky. It starts with just an acoustic guitar and a vocal line and, this heart monitor. You're like, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And then it builds and has this giant explosion at the end. And so this is like the lights coming on at the beginning of the show. Like it sort of shocks you and stops you in your tracks. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, the very end, when it transitions into Dead, that's when you start getting hyped. Because Dead is the song that you dance on and you sing along with.
Yes. So when they performed this live, Gerard would be oftentimes wheeled out on a gurney.
Oh my God.
Like full,
so
like,
extra.
IV bag with the blanket over him and the hospital gown on, and he's just laying there singing. And then he pops up like a fucking zombie.
Yeah.
And he gets out, and when he says nothing at all, he rips the hospital gown off. First, the hospital gown, reference to Kurt Cobain and Reading in 1992.
Hey.
So, and like you know, just puts these, like, references in there in places where you wouldn't really, like, you know, you don't think about them. Like, your first thought when you see Gerard in the hospital gown is you're like, oh, yeah, it relates to the album, but, like, you know, he's referencing Nirvana. But it fits with what he wants to do. It fits with, like, his vision. And it just, he starts the album off in such an explosive way. Like, it's so chill for just 1 second. Just one second. You get to breathe and you don't know. It is not
chill at any other time in
this
album.
You don't know what the fuck is about to hit you. But then it hits you full force.
I think it's also good to note really quick.
Yes.
You know, there was a point in time where he was wheeled out on a gurney by nurses, and, like, it was this big thing. And this is also the time when they add fire to their stage shows, because they had kind of tried to explore that a little bit in Revenge with the dancers, and then they left that behind. They're like, I don't know if we can do that. But they committed to that shit.
Yeah, they did.
For Black Parade. Committed the fuck to it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, should we talk about Dead now?
Wait.
No, okay, we're not talking about Dead now.
1 second, there's the second mention of drag in MCR in this song, which I just feel is notable to point out. Thank you, now we can move on.
Dead.
And if your heart stops beating, I'll be here wondering, did you get what you deserve?
Here we fucking go with this fucking scream.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Does anything, it's better than coffee in the morning. Does anything just jolt you awake more than this song? Again, this is a song you dance to. This is the song that you cannot help but scream along with. Like, it's undeniable. You can't not do it. Especially with, like, the countdown. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Ready to go.
Yes. So, okay. Influences for this song. There's a good few. So, Electric Light Orchestra's Mr. Blue Skies. You can definitely hear their influence here in the rhythm and kind of in the chord structure. And you know this song if you hear it. Mm-hmm. Like, you're like, what the fuck is Electric Light Orchestra? But you hear the song and you're like, oh, that song.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong?
50 seconds in, you hear the so long, and that's the influence in you've got just 2 weeks to live.
'Cause now you got maybe just 2 weeks.
Like, there's a lot of influence here.
That one sounds so Beatlesy, and
yes, very.
Dead sounds so, I mean, a little bit Beatlesy just in that particular part, but generally not.
Yeah. There, other influence, one of the other influences in the song, guitar-wise, was Cheap Trick's I Want You to Want Me. You can definitely hear. So, can we note at the beginning, before we listen to this, can we note right at the beginning of this song, the guitars super remind me of Cemetery Drive.
Okay.
And there's definite influence on the guitar, just the solo, you'll hear it. But at the beginning, I want to show you the drums.
Ray also mentions Chuck Berry and specifically Johnny B. Goode in his liner notes. And I think that the thing you're hearing in the solo of that song is more related to Johnny B. Goode. And then it sounds like that because it sounds like Johnny B. Goode.
Right. Yeah.
Because Ray was like, yeah, I definitely took some things straight out of Johnny B. Goode and put them in this giant, he has such a long, giant solo in this. There's also, of course, like some Brian May. And he also mentions Woody the Woodpecker.
What?
which I haven't listened to before now. I just like wrote it down with a question mark. It's like Woody the Woodpecker. So now we're gonna see if there's like a theme song.
There is. He has like he has a thing that he does.
Let's see.
Oh my god.
Guys, I cannot wait to put these clips in. Yes, Woody the Woodpecker is totally in this song. Incredible. What a diverse group of boys.
That's fucking crazy. Why did he do this?
Once you hear it once, you'll never not be able to hear it.
Oh my god. Raymond! Ray! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm too excited about this. I love Ray. I love Ray. I love Ray. Do you understand?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the guitar in this, first of all, is phenomenal.
Oh my god.
The
yes.
lines he has are just like, they're prime, like, air guitar lines.
Yes.
That you're like, this is classic. Like, you're like...
This is some classic rock shit.
Yes, you just want to, like, throw your whole body into it.
You can't not throw your whole body into it. Like, this song just lifts you up off your ass.
Yes.
It's like, we're going now. Are you on board? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
we're
matter.
Going.
The train is moving. Here we go. Like, fucking start dancing or get off.
And also we're still on influences, right? I don't know. This isn't an influence, but it's a thing. Frank also mentions in his liner notes, I pushed for that tuba part in the bridge from day one. Yes. So if you hate it, come see me about it. Shit's tough. I don't care what you think.
Yep.
He's a ska-loving motherfucker.
They wanted the tuba part. He wanted the tuba part. They wanted that B section to sound like Sgt. Pepper. Mm-hmm. Like,
it does.
Great.
Like, yeah, when they have that big, like
if you hear that one part in there,
section.
The B section in there, you hear the whistle, Sgt. Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
that
actually, brass, though.
I know, it cracked me up when I heard the whistle. So this song, Gerard said, it's about being dead and about people not liking you. It was a commentary on the band and how some people feel about us. We wanted to say, you may hate us, but we're still here. So Gerard likes to act super nonchalant about people's opinions, but like, boy, does he care.
Oh my god, we're going to talk about this so much later on.
Oh my gosh, he
especially
cares
when we
so
transition
much.
to Danger Days. I cannot wait. I've got so much to fucking say about that. Yes, he cares a lot.
Yeah, and they wanted it to be a scathing social commentary with like a 90s Britpop bounce to it. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think they achieved the apathetic tone, but you can
it's also like a black humor thing.
Yeah. You can definitely hear the undertone of like, but please really like me, I love you so much, please.
Yes.
Approve of me.
MCR would never make just an ironic record. It always has these emotional underpinnings. So I think that those two things come together really well in these two tracks. Yeah. Especially when their first two albums haven't really had a lot of humor in them. Sometimes there's a little bit, especially when there's like campy parts, but not sort of this self-knowing kind of humor.
Right. So it was about like the defensiveness, isolation, defiance, and daring were the words that they used to describe it. So it has kind of like tongue-in-cheek lyrics about people not liking you, and it's kind of like, whatever, nobody liked you anyway, so who gives a fuck that you're gonna die? Nobody cares. So like maybe the patient was a shitty person, didn't have a lot of friends.
Right. I feel like he was an asshole.
Yeah, he was kind of a dick. So the song kind of goes into a doctor talking to his patient about his heart problems.
With a fantastic accent.
So he's talking to his patient, and he's basically like, all right, so we found this thing while we were performing surgery on you, and basically you're going to die in 2 weeks. So good luck with that. See you later. So he's like, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. So, it sets up the rest of the record to explore his last, 2 weeks of his life, basically, to go either right his wrongs or find people that, he had connections with, or maybe break off connections with people,
to try and accept death.
Yeah, try and, look on his own life and kind of examine himself and, is he happy with himself and where he ended up? And he's not.
Spoiler alert, he's not.
Super spoiler alert, he is not happy. So who's talking to him, do you think, in the beginning verse?
I gotta pull up the beginning verse.
Like someone who's already, it's obviously someone who's already dead, who's in heaven, who's looking down on him or whatever, wherever they are.
Hold on. So here's how I kind of imagine these first 2 tracks going. In my mind, if I was shooting a video for it, it'd be the patient in his bed getting the news. And then this band busts up in his room and they start up this song.
Okay.
That's what I imagine. So I feel like it's sort of this narrator, not necessarily in particular, but I do feel like going back to the fact that Gerard was inspired by morality plays, that there is a sort of narrator sense to these 2 songs of, I mean, that's like a thing. Old-timey plays have narrators or
or Into the Woods. Into the Woods has a narrator.
Yeah, or like, you know, Greek choruses.
Commentary section, the peanut gallery.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of this narrator, not necessarily like a character.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I do you think maybe the narrator is like Pepe, who's like the leader of the
parade? Could be Pepe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely someone who at least occupies Gerard's role as band leader of this marching band.
Yeah. So on the part where did you get what you deserve, hashtag throwback to Cemetery Drive.
Hey.
And also another hashtag throwback, the gang vocals reprise on the la 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 la. That is a big gang vocal where it's Gerard, Ray, and Frank, and like a couple other people.
Which is very rare.
That. Yeah.
They don't do that a lot.
No, and they're all doing that. So that's a throwback to Best Day Ever where they all yelled someday.
Yes.
Which I think is really funny. They don't get to like do these gang vocals together a lot, and they really enjoy it when they are able to.
Yeah, they also do that later on in Danger Days too. I think probably Na Na Na.
Yeah.
And it's another rare occurrence.
So the B section where they have what Gerard calls, quote, ironic horns.
Ironic horns!
He talks about it. He says it's ironic horns and slams on the piano. So we're going to listen.
That's a weird way to describe this.
We're going to listen to that part for a second.
Ironic horns.
Yes, that's the whistle. I laughed so hard when I heard it. I was like, are you fucking me?
Definitely Gwen Stefani's Hollaback Girl.
Yes.
Don't know when that came out. Doesn't matter. Still an influence.
Oh, man. Yes, so I love the horns. They're exploring all these instruments that they have never even thought about before. They're like, let's throw back to fucking marching band right now. We're going to pull in, like, some trumpets, some tubas, and, you know, let's get a glockenspiel somewhere in this album. We need a glockenspiel. Gerard was really excited in the interviews about the fucking glockenspiel. He was like, you guys, Rob got us a glockenspiel.
There's a lot of shit in here. And, like, this isn't even the half of it.
No.
Like, when we get to Welcome to the Black Parade or Mama,
oh my gosh.
Like, oh my God. It gets so excessive, but in a fantastic way. Also, one of my favorite parts of this is the offbeat, and if you get to heaven.
Yes.
And if you get to heaven. Love it.
And if you get to heaven, I'll be here waiting, baby, to get what you deserve.
It's such like in the performances, Gerard like kicks there. He like does like a dancing kick thing, like fucking Fosse's his way across the stage.
Like Beef in Phantom of the Paradise.
Hey.
Beef returns.
Beef returns. So he fucking beefs his way across the stage. AKA Bob Fosse's his way across the stage. To this part. So like they're feeling the dance vibe just as hard as we are, which I love. Like they're just as into this as the fans are.
Yeah. This is like, honestly, these 2 tracks combined, because I do consider them one long track.
Yeah.
Are in my top 5 favorite MCR tracks. Like, I don't even care. Come at me. They're so good. They're just excellent pieces of music.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Oh my gosh. Did we just cover the beginning of the Black Parade?
I think we fucking did. Wow. Did we do it well? I don't know, but we did it.
Yeah, you know, I'm too excited to have super coherent thoughts. So
yes.
Hopefully we will get it on lock.
Yeah.
On the next episode, but I think the excitement is a good thing.
Oh, yes.
And I hope you guys are just as excited about it as we are.
This was like the big record that I think most fans came in on. And it was definitely growing up my favorite record. It's not anymore just because I have a lot of affectionate feelings about Bullets.
Yeah.
But it is my second favorite record. So I'm very jazzed to do this.
Definitely. This is the record where you're like, hey, my mom wants to know who My Chemical Romance is. What should I show her? Just show her the Black Parade.
My mom really likes Famous Last Words, so
yeah, good
yes.
for her. Yeah, this is like, all right, I'm going to show my parents something that they'll like. Let's just show them this whole album.
Yeah.
And I think maybe this album has more swearing in it than any of their previous albums, like potentially.
I feel like it does. I think there's a lot of fucks in this.
There really are. Like
a lot of shits.
But parents still like it more.
Yeah. It's a classic album.
Yeah,
Sounds like all the classic albums they listen to.
Yeah, one of the reviews of it, and they told MCR this in an interview, was it was the best 70s album of the 2000s.
Absolutely. That is a great review of
Gerard
this.
was like, thank you so much.
It's got that 70s bravado.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay. Is that it? Is that what we have to say?
That's all. Except.
Oh.
So, someone suggested that for our podcast episodes, we should add a section about what song we're into right now that's not an MCR song. Seems like a fun thing. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah.
What's your song that you're listening to this week that you're kind of into?
My song of the week that I'm kind of into is, well, I'm gonna put out an album. I've been listening to the Last of Us soundtrack.
Yeah.
You know, the video game? Been listening to that soundtrack a lot. Because that, oh God, the guitars in this album are so good. It's all instrumental. There's no vocal anything. The composer is Gustavo Santaolalla, after much debate about the last name.
Still probably incorrect, but we gave it a good shot.
I gave it a good college try. So that's my album of the week. That's been on repeat for me. It's just super calming.
Cool. Fuck. I don't have an album on repeat besides my 90s playlist, my 90s alt rock playlist that Spotify does for me, which I really appreciate because they've finally gotten my very specific 90s alt taste down.
Everlong.
Everlong is the perfect song. I've started making a list of perfect songs, and it is one of the perfect songs. I think I might have also put that on that list.
Well,
the song I'll highlight is I've been listening to Big Shot by Billy Joel a lot. It's like a hype-up song.
Yes, that is a good one.
When you wake up in the morning with your head on fire and your eyes too bloody to see, gonna cry in your coffin, but don't come bitching to me, because you had to be a big shot, did you? You had to open up your mouth.
It's just a really good, it's a really good song.
It is a good song.
It's a good sing-along song.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah. That wraps it up for this week then. So follow us on the socials, Twitter and Instagram at Chemical Fancast, Facebook My Chemical Fancast, email us at mychemicalfancast@gmail.com, and if you would like to support what we do, you can find us at Patreon at patreon.com/chemicalfancast. That is it for this week.
We'll talk to you guys next week. I'm Kat.
And I'm Haley.
And this is My Chemical Fancast. See ya.
Bye.